Today, we're going to talk about the new expansion, the new champions that were added to the game, Mordekaiser, Morgana, and Elder Dragon. How well did they land and what do players think about them? We're also going to talk about the best decks and the top cards and how they're performing in the meta. We have the Heisho nerf we're going to discuss, bugs. It's going to be a long episode. And of course, I'm not here to do it by myself. I have Mr. LOR Report. I have Mr. I count to 4 and play 1 unit every turn. Demacia Enjoyer himself. Marshall, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing, Sonny?
I'm great. I hope you like my little introduction there because I feel like that's pretty fitting, right? For a Demacia Enjoyer like you. Play one man on one, 2 man on 2.
We like to play our cards on curve.
We don't want to think too hard. We just want to play 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know what? In this meta, I think people will most often just count to 6 at this point because of Elder Dragon.
Yeah, no, the Elder Dragon has definitely spiced the game up a bit. But we'll get on to Elder Dragon a little bit further in the episode.
Exactly. Yeah, let's talk about generally how we feel about the new expansion and how it landed. Specifically, I guess, compared to the last one. Because I was a big fan of the last expansion. Really loved it. And somehow, I'm just going to say it right now, I love this one more. So that's saying a lot, I guess.
I'm gonna agree with you. Compared to last expansion, I think I'm having a lot more fun. I think this expansion, probably the best out of the year. If I had to say for the 4 expansions that we've had, starting from Glory and Navori, I think this one at the moment is currently top of the charts. Might just be recency bias. For me personally, right now, it's definitely the top one right now.
I want to say right now that it might be recency bias, but I think at this point, last time when we had the expansion and the ones before that, it was pretty clear what champions I liked and didn't really like. So 3 months ago when we had Janna, Neela, and Volibear, it was pretty clear to me that I liked Janna, didn't really like deck building with Neela, and loved Volibear. Right now, at this point, a week later, I can say that I love Mordekaiser, I love Morgana, and I love Elder Dragon. So just from a deck building perspective and the things you can do with the game right now, and even like the enigma that the meta is right now, because we're still waiting 1 day for the world competitors to lock in their decks. So we have no idea what's really going on. We're all just like kind of just like trying to grasp at straws in the dark. I probably messed up like 3 different sayings all at once, but I feel like we're really trying hard to find that meta deck while the world competitors don't want to say anything because they might have the spice that will win them worlds. And I saw some tweets saying whoever finds the best Mordekaiser deck will probably win worlds. And I kind of want to ask you, do you agree with that? Do you think that's true?
I definitely think that Mordekaiser, especially in the last, I'd say about 3-4 days, has a rose on people's radar. I think no one really realized how strong he was, especially with the level 1 text of when you slay a unit, revive it. Slay an ally. People at the moment, you can. Some people that are watching on the video can see his little smug face on the bottom left. This Mage Seeker card is no, not Mordekaiser. On the other side of the.
Yeah, here he is. All right. Mage Seeker prisoner.
This Mage Seeker card is being basically abused in Mordekaiser decks because it's you just kill this over and over again with a Mordekaiser on board, and your opponent is like, well, I'm spending 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 mana sometimes just to play spells. If it's in a mirror and you get this guy down first, you basically won the game.
Yeah, so this is the 4-mana 3/2 that when summoned adds a suppression to the opponent's hand. And it has Challenger and Tough, which honestly is like everything's kind of flavor text, right? Because it's just about when I'm summoned, curse your opponent with suppression. Mordekaiser just wants like that one unit that has a great summon effect to just revive over and over and make life hell for the opponent. Now, I made a tweet today, which will be yesterday when this podcast goes live, about Eternal Season and Mordekaiser plus Aloof Travelers. This is pretty tame. If we go to Eternal and we have a card like Aloof that will just get revived over and over and over in Mordekaiser, we're looking at something that will possibly be a little bit more frustrating to play against for a lot of players.
So, shout out to Drizzoth. I been on Twitter quite a bit today, been listening to people's takes. Drizzoth was saying that Mordekaiser is like the highest champion we've got at the moment, and in Standard, he's like up there, and he said, well, the fact that we get into Eternal, he will be nerfed just because of Eternal. Because of all of the cards like Vile Feast, you've got the Butcher, you've got all of like the Slay package that got removed. He said it was basically just going to be Mordekaiser meta unless he like prints something out during the Eternal time and stuff gets happened beforehand. But like he'll probably require a nerf, and I kind of agree with that take. He's Eternal is going to be it's like the grey realm for Mordekaiser. All the cards that died. They died over there, and Mordekaiser's like, no, you're not dead yet. You gotta come and join my team.
What you're saying is, when Eternal Season finally happens, we're basically entering the Death Realm, and Mordekaiser is just gonna say, I am not done with you to all of us, as he makes our life miserable. Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate, actually.
Yeah, his famous voice line that no one ever hears.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta say, though, Ravenous Butcher is kind of disgusting with Mordekaiser. You play him on turn 7, you revive one thing, and then you get to do it again for 0 mana for like another summon effect. Yeah, that's kind of disgusting. I could see that. But I generally wonder if the world competitors are just kind of toying with us, and they're saying, yeah, we're playing this Mage Seeker Inquisitor, and that's the best you can do for a summon effect. Well, in reality, they're just like sitting on something else. Like, for all we know, they're playing like Mordekaiser Elder Dragon, and they're just reviving Seinen or something. The 3/5 that draws you 2 cards. I really don't know. I think there is something out there, a deck, that will just blow everyone away at Worlds. And I'm gonna be honest, it wouldn't surprise me if it was Aragorn who found that, because Aragorn is the one that found the Black Flame Talia last year to kind of take everyone by surprise as well.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely... So it's a bit different than last year, only because we've had an extra week compared to last year. So no, the meta has kind of developed a little bit with the week that people have been had, and like you said, at the time of recording, they've still got 20. Oh, it's not 24 hours. I think they have a little bit less than 24 hours. So by the time this podcast goes live, the decks will be locked, and we will know basically what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know when we will find out. I don't know if Aegis are allowed to tell us the decks, or if it's going to be all revealed on Worlds Day. I might be able to find out early because I need to make graphics and stuff. But for the general public, no one will really know what's going on. And the moment they do, the standard ladder is just going to be chaos because everyone's going to be playing those decks.
Yeah. I wonder how much we see on ladder, or how much it will actually be impacted by ladder right now, because like you said, unlike last time, the player base actually also got a week with the card, so world players can kind of see what's going on. If any of the decks that players are playing will be able to compete better than what they might have cooked up already.
Yeah, so I'm in Masters, which is pretty good. So I'm going against all the people that are actually Worlds competitors. I've been against PVH, sorry. I've been against Talpinator. I've been speaking with Kuvi. Kuvi's giving me little hints of stuff. I can see what people have been playing a little bit. I'm very, very nervous to see how many Elder Dragon Noras we're going to see, because it seems to be a very popular deck right now. Yeah,
for sure. It's just control, and then they have like Broadmane, because that's in the Elder Dragon region. Burblefish, if they're playing that, which is also kind of nasty. And then it's like one Elder Dragon, but I mean, Dragon Boons are awesome. I would love to see Elder Dragon be played and get that I cannot be stopped win con, but I really think it's just a region that's really good. Much better than people thought.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think Wickhelm said it on Twitter, and he said the Fire Spitter that we got in the variety set is a very good card. And I was like, this card, the card was printed, I was like, this card is fine. As long as nothing gets printed, which makes this card really good, this card should probably never get nerfed, because it is a good power level to exist. And then Dragon Boons got invented, and now we're dealing with like 10 8s with... We're against 10 6s with Challenger and like Impact 2, or it has Tough, or it has Deathless, and you're like, okay, this card is just straight not fun to play against anymore.
Yeah, it's deal 2 and deal 2 nexus, and then also get to challenge something and kill it. And you know, with Elder Dragon, you kind of just get to give it like Deathless or Tough, and then yeah, things started getting a lot more difficult, because a 1/6 mana card that can do some board control just goes completely out of control. I think it's funny that when that card was revealed, I was like, this is better than it looks. And I had no idea that it was even better than it looks with Elder Dragon being released. So, I don't know. I'm happy it exists. I really like Fire Spitter for more aggressive Noxus strategies, but in Elder Dragon decks as well. I think it's cool that it is like that kind of... That's like the earliest you can play a card with Dragon Boons, and that's also the earliest you can kind of start taking control of the game, because you are getting to that later game.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, if we start, which champion do we want to discuss first?
I mean, we can kind of continue with Mordekaiser. We were kind of doing so already. Yeah, I mean, I to me, this card is still a question mark, to be honest. I think he's very powerful, but I don't know, and I don't feel like we've really discovered the one thing that will make this broken, because this effect is so nuts. It's so freaking good, and there has to be something out there that just completely breaks it. This line of text, when you slay another ally, revive it, is so game breaking. We just need to find what that is exactly. And I think a 7-mana 5/8 with Challenger is not like greedy or late in the game enough for that to matter. That's still just really good and consistent.
It's the fact that you can immediately get value off it with spells in hand. Most of the kill spells, like for example, we have Death's Grasp, which is a 3 mana. So if you go into turn 7 with 3 mana banked, and you play this and your opponent goes, okay, they played a 7 mana card, I'm going to get a little bit of tempo, play my 6 mana card to kill this with a vengeance. And then you're going to Death's Grasp, and immediately Mordekaiser gets value, whether that's on a unit that's like good that you want to revive, or even if it's just like the 3/1 that summons the prey. Like, you'll get the 3/1 back and you'll deal 5 to another unit. Mordekaiser is very, very strong with the package that he came out with cards that already exist in Shadow Isles. I do like the fact that Shadow Isles finally is seeing a bit of play. It's been Boulevard was making he made a video a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago now, explaining that Shadow Isles was just not a good region. And it was a fair point. It got a lot of the stuff it wanted to do rotated. And it makes sense because Mordekaiser is here.
But he came at the end of the year, and that's like a shame, right? It's kind of been a dead region. It's like, oh, I Soul Harvest, I Quietus, I Vengeance, and Hate Spike, and that's Shadow Isle. But now we know why.
Yeah, I was just thinking, this is the reason why Atrocity got rotated. We could not have this card with Atrocity. Like, oh yeah, I'm just going to Atrocity my 2020 Nasus. Oh, you stopped it? Oh, well, that's a shame. My Nasus is still here anyway. So, like, I don't want to... Just the cards that... The thing that this is going to do in Eternal is just... It's going to be his realm. Eternal is where this card is going to shine the most. And the fact it's shining in Standard is crazy to me.
It's also crazy to me that his level 2 is like, okay, cool. Sometimes I get this, but it really doesn't matter. I'd rather just have Mordekaiser like on the board as like the challenger part is like, sometimes I get to kill like a small unit that doesn't put my Mordekaiser in any danger, because I really just want to have this aura around to get insane value and just beat you that way. But this attack for the rest of the game, when you slay a unit, drain 1 from the enemy nexus, it's really cool. It's so cool flavor-wise that it can stack, but it just doesn't matter because you only need this revive mechanic. And, you know, I play a lot of printers. I basically invented the Viego printer, you know. It is what it is, man. I invent some cool stuff, but then Riot comes and gives us like the ultimate printing champion. It's like, no, you don't need to play cards for that anymore. You just have an aura to do all of that. And I love Mordekaiser for that, but I think it's very strong. I think it will eventually get nerfed when people figure out how to abuse it the best, so to say. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have fun with it in the meme strategies, because that's also a home for Mordekaiser. Just like cool deck concepts that you normally wouldn't see.
I think one of the strong things to go with Mordekaiser is the fact he kills 2 allies on play. Like, we're always saying this, like, oh yeah, this slay effect is really strong, but the fact he can do it straight away with no answers is like, sometimes it loses you the game. If you have the card that came out in the variety set, it's called the Spectral Iron. Yeah, the Spectral Iron Hound, which is the 6-mana 5/3. To play me, kill an ally. When I'm summoned, summon a 1000-clawed Deathwinder, which is a 8/4 with Fearsome. If you just kill that, which you played that the turn before Mordekaiser, so it's like you're playing your cards one after another. Like, the board is full. Someone made a joke, I don't know if you saw the post, of like how these cards are actually done. Mordekaiser's was, for the rest of the game, you have 6 units on board. And it's true. Once Mordekaiser comes down, or like he levels, it's basically, right, I'm gonna have to beat you with Overwhelm. I'm gonna have to try and beat you with Elusive. Like, you can't just like beat them down, because it's never gonna work. The board is always full. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I like how when Iron Hound came out, I was playing this Callista semi-revive deck, and I had no idea what was about to come at. I had no idea that Mordekaiser was going to be this insane. It's on turn 6 too. On turn 6, the 5/3, an 8/4, and then on turn 7, you revive the 5/3 and you get another 8/4. It's so much pressure too. It's just insane, man. It's also like, you have to imagine, and I play in Platinum, you play in Master. I've just been memeing around. I'm just enjoying the new cards for the most part, and I mean, you know, I'm coping here. I can't get through Master Marshall. My decks aren't good enough. No, but just the fact that you have to kill that 5/3 on turn 6 instead of the 8/4 because you know Mordekaiser could come out on turn 7 is crazy. Like, you have to think ahead so far, because I was playing Bard Mordekaiser, and you have to kill Moduli on turn 6 because it gets revived by Mordekaiser next turn, and then, you know, the stats are galactic. So instead of killing like the actual threats, you have to kill the cards that summon, and you have to kill Mordekaiser. I think this card is so freaking cool, but it's a meta staple, and it's gonna be that way for a while.
To be fair though, I don't mind it, especially with Worlds coming up.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely think that we're at a stage of the like, especially the point of the game that we're at right now. I think a card like this can exist.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing a balance change in maybe just before Christmas if they decide to do like a quick balance change to like, hey, we want this before the Christmas break, because I'm fairly sure they do a very small one. Don't count me on that, but I'm fairly sure we got one last year with Poppy. Or was it the year before?
That was Poppy was the year before. Last time it was Aatrox, and I think not Aatrox, but some of the Kane followers got nerfed, if I remember right.
True, it was the elusive because of Worlds. So what happened was Worlds took place. So Riot devs looked at it and went, "Wow, that card is broken. Let's hit it," which is good, because now this will give Riot, especially like all of the team that are on balancing, they'll give them a good grasp of what is good, because these players that are going into Worlds, they're not playing bad cards. So, well, say that they might just be playing bad cards and trying to win out of pure like, my opponent's never going to know what to do.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel like Aragorn got that, because everyone saw Black Flame and was like, huh, what's his Black Flame card?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna ignore it, and then like 2 turns, it's like, oh, I really should have.
Aragorn cooked.
He cooked, but sometimes that's what you need. So yeah, I'm excited to see Worlds. I'm excited to see Mordekaiser, because he's definitely going to take place. He's going to be there. It's good. I'm glad that we're not getting like a Jack in this expansion, because all of the champions have slapped. We'll see the others when we get there. But yeah, no, I think Mordekaiser is a very good design, and I cannot wait to see him in the competitive stage.
Yeah, me when I see Mordekaiser. I am not done with you. All right, moving on. Let's save Eddie for last. Let's talk about Morgana a little bit. Now, I know you have a lot to say about her, but I'm just gonna say really quick that I think it's cool to have a more tempo-oriented card for Targon. Feels like we haven't really had access to that, especially since rotation, with cards like Aphelios, Tarek being rotated, even Zoe, more or less, kind of like a value champion. Morgana seeing play in aggro with Riven, in mid-range E with Akshan, and control with Mordekaiser because of the Mazeseeker Inquisitor is awesome. Also, I think most listeners will know what Morgana does, but just in case, we'll actually read it out. So Morgana is the 5-mana dual regen, Targon and Demacia, lifesteal, play curse enemy with shackles twice, level up, you've targeted units 8+ times, and once he levels, she curses the strongest enemy that isn't cursed with shackles on attack, deals 3 to cursed enemies and 2 to enemy nexus. And shackles, of course, being the immobilize curse, where you literally tell a unit you cannot move anymore. So that whole lockdown deck with Riven, where you play stuns and the shackles, is really, really cool. And I like that something like that exists. I've had comments on YouTube that's like, oh, you hate Ionia, but you like Morgana? Double standards much? Which I think is kind of funny, because, you know, immobilizing something once over like 5 recall cards denies and stuff. I don't know, man. I'm not calling anyone out here, but I really enjoy Curse, and I like what they do for the game. I love it. Very cool mechanic.
See, the thing is, you can, well, if you know they've got Morgana in the deck, you can play around it as a player. Maybe not some decks, because not every deck will always have a counter to certain strategies. But like, if you know your opponent has Morgana and like they pass with 5 mana, like you can kind of tell what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does work in the same way as stuns. The attack effect is probably one of my favorite things to do. The cursing immediately on attack is so good. People have been trying to use Cataclysm with it, because that's a free attack. I've not seen many Vayne decks with this. Maybe that's something that we might see at Worlds. Maybe someone's like hidden tech of just, I'm going to attack a million times with Morgana. I don't think it's going to be good, but you could see it. Like, the fact it's not limited to once per round, means that there is a couple of ways that you can take the card just for this effect. But the decks that you play Morgana use her as a support champion the most.
Yeah.
The Mordekaiser deck does it. The Riven deck does it. What was the other one you're talking about?
Akshan.
Well, yeah, the Akshan deck uses it as a support champion, especially my version. Literally is just a 95% Shurima deck, and then Morgana comes in at the end and it's just like, hey, I'm a good card. I'm just gonna I'm gonna do my thing, and if she levels, she's kind of like unstoppable with the Akshan deck, in my opinion. It's so fun to play that deck. I just love it. The fact that she's dual region as well is great, because you get to do the deck building. If you want to go more heavy into Shackles, you can. You go to Targon, and you go and take Mahira, you go and take the Sinner's Vice, you go and take Dolly and...
Lisa.
I can't remember Dolly and Lisa. You can do that, and you can focus on the lockdown strategy, and I'm going to make you pay 10 mana to unlock this card. But Shackles as a 2-mana card is just... It's so well designed, in my opinion. I told you this on Discord, but my goal is to get to the front page of EMEA with Morgana Akshan, just because I love the deck so much. I love the package that I had for Akshan, and I was playing it with Garen, and I was like, it just means that like you get to strike a lot of times with Garen, and you get to rally, and it's like, yeah, that's okay, but rallies are a bit like, you can do rallies everywhere. You cannot lock down your opponent's deck just by attacking with other decks. And I really enjoy it, because the thing that I like to do is when I play the Akshan deck, you level Morgana very quickly. You get lucky finds, you get equipments, like you can shuffle the equipment. You have strikes, so you can get the you target 2, and then if you have the equipment, you can get the lucky find as well, so you can hyper level Morgana. One of my favorite things to do is to play Morgana and instantly attack the next turn, but 2 units are just immediately unavailable to block. Especially because she makes Shackles 4 cost. Honestly, I don't think Morgana is broken. I think she's very good. I'd be very surprised currently to see a nerf to her. It might just be the fact that I play the deck a lot, so I don't want her to get nerfed. But I think that she's very well balanced. She's just a support champion. She's not inherently herself broken. It's just what she does very well. And it's, hey, I'm going to do this thing. Maybe I level and become a little bit more useful. If not, I'm still going to be because technically she's 1 mana.
Yeah.
You pay 5, but your opponent has to pay 4 to undo the effect. So she's a 1 mana 3/4 that you can only play in the middle of the game. And it's like, I like that. I like it.
Yeah, and the lifesteal really solidifies it as like, I am a support card, and I'm fine with that. I like that Shackles is kind of comparable to a stun, where you can pay the mana to unstun in a way. But what makes it cool is that if you time it right, you can do it when your opponent can't pay the 4 mana, and then you can go into the next turn, attack with her, and then you have 2 stun targets that, you know, take 3 damage, and you also deal 2 to the nexus. But it's just awesome that they're finally like kind of giving in on the dual region cards. I wonder if that was the case before this expansion. Maybe Morgana was just Targon, and then they figured, hey, we need to give a champion to every region. I don't know what the thought behind it is. It almost feels that way, but I don't want to sell the design team short of that, because it feels like they're at home in both regions, and I'm very glad that they did it.
So I was thinking, by the way, that Morgana was very heavily, to me, she feels like a Targon champion a lot more than a Demacian champion.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, Demacia is the quickest way to level her up. I was thinking in work today, and I was like, how do I level this card fast? And I was thinking, oh my god, if I'm in Eternal, I get to like Concerted Strike, and that's 3.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we're gonna have some fun time in Eternal with this card.
Yeah. And it's also the single combats and stuff, right? Which is target 2. Targon does have Shield Vault and stuff, which I was playing in the Riven Morgana deck. I don't know. I feel like that might not be the correct way to go, but it is fun to turbo level her and kind of put a spotlight on the new champions, which I always like to do when the new expansion comes out. But aside from that, I don't know. I don't know what's left to say about Morgana. I just think it's another slam dunk, just like Mordekaiser. I think Morgana is like pretty powerful, like at face value. You look at this card and it's like, oh yeah, that's good. And Mordekaiser is like this card that's like, I am very powerful, but you have no idea what I have left in store for you, because I am so much more than that. It is game-breaking combo style powerful, where Morgana is just like, yeah, I do this thing and it's strong. Which somehow Elder Dragon doesn't fit into either of these categories because Elder Dragon is powerful because of the origin, right?
Yes. So I think a lot of people, the origin was the first one, you missed it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah,
Like
right. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, when they saw Elder Dragon, they were like, oh yeah, this is really cool. And like, we're going to play him for the can't be stopped and we're going to try and do this.
Yeah.
And then early access came and everyone was like, oh, this origin is a lot stronger than we realized. I think the main thing that makes this deck really good, well, there was two things. The first one was High Show, but we'll get onto High Show later in the episode.
Yeah.
The second card is Chinchilla, because Chinchilla was a card that got released last expansion.
Yeah.
And
the 6-mana
like,
4/4 that doubles elemental skills and spells.
Yes, and all of the Dragon Boons are elemental, and no one really, like, I made the graphic, like, a day after the cards revealed, and everyone was like, oh yeah, people saw some interest, but no one really clicked. And then Chinchilla came onto the scene and was like, oh yeah, I'm a card that you kind of need to answer the turn I come down, and if that answer isn't, like, you can't do it while the Dragon Boon is on the stack, it's either she's going to be a 6/6 with Tough, or she's going to have Deathless, or there's just going to be, you gotta have to pay big, but like a big amount to deal with her.
Yeah.
And if you don't, the game you kind of lose the game on the spot, because doubling up Dragon Boons, like Dragon Boons alone are good, and the fact that you can double them with a card that just gets added to the region, it makes it so much stronger.
Yeah. It's not even like insane, like if you look at it, or so it seems, because it's like, okay, I'm giving something fearsome twice and an extra +1/+1. How bad could it be? But then you realize that those effects go on 6-mana cards. And that is disgusting. It just goes so hard. I think Deathless, again, is like the one keyword that just makes your unit so durable, and you get their summon effect twice, like Seinen. And it's like, okay, yeah, this keyword just kind of breaks a lot of stuff that it's not supposed to. So,
I'm just looking. I think there was a card that Riot tried to buff. Was it the Savage Reckoner?
Oh yeah, that's an 8/4 now, yeah.
No, it's an 8/5.
Oh, 8/5.
I was just thinking, this card got buffed, but I think it got outdone by the Fire Spitter. But I think maybe someone brings this towards. I don't know. I think this card might be good.
I think so too. If you're playing Freljord, I think it has to be Freljord then with Chinchilla. And then you have like an actual way to... Actually, that's so interesting. The more I think about it. Could you imagine if people are just playing like Fire Spitter and that card with Chinchilla to just like end the game as soon as you get to turn 6? It's... Or, you know, for Freljord that is a lot faster.
Yeah, so Chinchilla comes down, just say turn 5 if they front.
Yeah.
Then you can Fire Spitter if it's like a defense turn, so that you can kill a unit and block. And if it's an offense turn, you can do the other way round. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, you'd have to Fire Spitter first because of mana. But yeah, I think Savage Reckoner probably pretty sleeper. I'd be interested to test that out, because if you give it Deathless, he's still gonna be still gonna have 8 attack and Overwhelm. Like that's not.
It's not terrible.
Not a small thing. Yeah. Maybe we have some testing to do. But yeah, this is the reason. If anyone was wondering, this aspect of the dragon. This is the reason why you play Elder Dragon. Sure, you can play him in a as an Elder Dragon deck, but this origin, I did a tier list. I don't know if you want to pull it up for origins. I put this at S tier because I think this is probably the best origin that we've ever gotten.
You think? Okay. Well, we'll be able to compete with that. I think you're right. I think the fact that you get like an effect when you play one of the units that is in the origin makes it very powerful. I don't even like. I think Jax kind of might be able to compete. Jax has been meta for a long time and also in more than just like one deck.
Yeah, I've just sent it to you, so you can put it on screen for the people that are watching on YouTube's. So these were all of the origins, and like you've got to think about it just origin-wise. So I think it's quite clear that Elder Dragon, like people are only playing Elder Dragon so you can get this effect, and I don't think we've really had a champion like that apart from like maybe Aatrox. Like we've had decks in the past where it's like been one Aatrox so you can get the Dark in, but like Aatrox is a good card anyway, so you like it's kind of not equivalent. I think this is the first time that we genuinely said we're going to play this region. Oh well, Bard's a bit different. Bard is also for that reason, but like you also need 3 Bard, so it it's not the same. It would be interesting if they tried to do that for Elder Dragon as a nerf. If they thought that this was too strong, and they're like, hey, if you want to get the Dragon Boons,
you need 3 Elder Dragons?
You need 3 Elder Dragons. Interesting.
Oh,
I'll have to think about that. But
yeah, so
this is what you're seeing on the screen here. This is my opinion on Origins.
Yeah, so it's D tier, Neeko and Porking at the very bottom. Then at C, it's Evelynn. B is Kayn, Varus, Bard, and Ryze. A is Jax, Jhin, and Aatrox. And S tier is Elder Dragon. And for me, looking at it less from a competitive standpoint, the just insane amount of dopamine you get when you play Elder Dragon is enough reason for me to put an S. Like, the fact that you get that effect just for playing a champion, the Dragon Boons, feels so good. The only other champion that has that is Bard. But back in the day, it was like, oh, I hit a chime on turn 1. I win the game now, which sucked. You know, that was awful. I'm glad they nerfed that. I think Bard is fine now. I would like him to be a little bit stronger, I guess. But
yeah, so
Elder Dragon, you need turn 6. You need 6-mana unit, which you don't just get on like turn 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so the way that I had to do when I was making this, I was like, okay, try and not think about the champion at all. Because even though the champion is like really good for some of these cards, you think to yourself, okay, if I was just looking at the origin, like, what does it do? Poro cards, they don't really do anything. Like, if you want to play Poros, you play Poros. Neeko, there's no unit that you really go in Neeko's region, like, oh, I want to go Neeko's region because I want this unit. If you want that unit, you just go to that region.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Husk is kind of the same, but Husk's, you can get Siren Song, and we had Siren Song meta, so it kind of lifted it up. And then, like, all of these ones that are on, like, the B tier, like, you've got Self-Draw as the first one, Self-Draw as the second one, which is, like, why it's there. But like the cultists, they'd probably be Husks if they weren't there. If you couldn't self-draw, I don't think the Kayn or Varus would be good. Because yes, cultist units are good, but like they're not great. You're not going, oh, I'm gonna go for.
I think they're very good, but it's not the same as like a region.
Scout. The 4-3 with Scout, you could just go to Demacia. Like that's the only one that I'd say I want to go to that region for a cultist.
Yeah, it's like the fact that Varus and Kayn are self-equipping and then you have Momentous, I think is also like a big thing. Because they are all playing mid-range. I mean...
I guess, yeah, you got a point there. A good point. But...
yeah, just like the fact that you get this like all-star, you get like the Mario kind of like deck where all the cards are like pretty good at everything, but they don't shine at one particular thing. And then to make them shine, you go to that second region, which we've kind of seen the most from Varus with like Shurima. I want to say, I mean, that was before rotation, really, where Varus, Akshan was just like with Absolver, would one-shot you. Kayn has been Kayn Aatrox, so I think Kayn is like the worst example, but Aatrox is very much like, okay, I have these weapons, but Demacia is like how I really leverage like the power and how I get to do cool stuff with them.
Yeah, and then we move on to Bard and Ryze, which I think are just two good origins. Like putting any spell that's burst or focus is pretty helpful, gives you lots of flexibility. Bard's origin is very good. We've seen that in the past. It just sits in the B tier because I'd say at the moment he's quite healthy. But then like we go up to the next stage. It's Weapon Masters are broken. We're going to put those up. Jhin has access to Broadmane and Riptide and Deny. Aatrox gives you Darkin, and Darkin are very good cards.
Yeah.
Then like they all get beaten by Elder Dragon because Elder Dragon's effect are literally, okay, how do I make a good card even better? And it was like, oh, Chinchilla's a great card. The only issue is it dies too quick. Well, I'm just going to give it tough and 1,000,000 health, or I'm going to give it deathless, so you can't actually deal with it.
Yeah.
Elder Dragon's design, deck building wise, they've done really well. His deck building like options. This is what we want. When we play the card game, we want to make fun decks.
Yeah.
And Elder Dragon, he gives you that ability to make fun decks.
Yeah, exactly. It's just Timmy decks, but also somehow with cards like Broadmane and Burblefish and other stuff in those region combos, somehow we also found ways to make them control-y. But I mean, you know, this is 1 week in. I mean, I'm just happy to see it. Super cool card. I think it's great for a game like Runeterra to have this be a powerful card because players loved playing this kind of stuff. But for the next part, do you have 3 standout cards? Cards that have been like, I started playing this expansion, and I'm just really surprised at either how good or how fun this is.
Okay, first one, I think we can both agree, Snowdog. Bottom left. I think this card is insane. If you see this on turn 2, you're kind of like, okay, do I have like, am I Shadow Isles? Do I have access to Soul Cleave? Am I like Hate Spike in this on 2? This card is crazy good. Yeah,
the 2-mana 2/3 that attack, grant the top 2 allies in your deck +1/+1 for Freljord, and for Neeko, you know, it's a dog. It's the Omen dog.
To be fair, this is very good because I have seen a lot of Nico decks running this, which shows you how good the card is because Nico is seeing play. If Nico is seeing play, it's not because Nico is good, it's because this card exists.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think when everyone saw this card, everyone realized it was going to be a good card, and no surprise here. This card is going to see playing Worlds. I expect to see Jackson playing this.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You're going to see so many dogs. This is just a good card. So this is number one for me. I'll throw you to your number one, or your first pick, should I say?
Yeah. So for me, the first one I actually want to talk about, not necessarily because it's so powerful, but the 7-mana dragon from Demacia. Aladdis the Gallant with Fury. Your dragon boons target all dragon allies, and it is a 7/6. I think this card, like, I was talking about how much dopamine I get from just playing a 6-mana unit in an Elder Dragon deck. Aladdis the Gallant just puts that one boon on the stack, and then you see like all those arrows go to your dragons, and they all get buffed up when the spell resolves, and it's like, it feels so good, man. This is peak Runeterra for me. It feels so insanely good to see that go up and watch your dragons get powered up. And I'm gonna cheat here because I'm also instantly gonna give my number 2, which is Gentle Gem Dragon. It literally fits into that exact same like playstyle, and it's my favorite deck of the expansion so far. Demacia Dragons. The Gentle Gem Dragon is the 6-mana dragon from Targon. It's the 6-mana dragon from Elder Dragon, is a better way of putting it. When you play a fast spell, slow spell, or skill, grant other dragon allies +1/+1. I wish this also self-buffed, but what this means is that this card, every time you put a dragon boon on the stack, it buffs itself. Or it buffs your dragon allies, rather. And this, combined with Aladdis, is enough to make a very satisfying and fun deck for me. And having these two cards on the board, I'm still a mid-range lover at heart, even though I've kind of moved past that because it's easier to make like fun content for YouTube. And that's also what I enjoy, right? Just doing stupid combos. But that mid-range Sunny is still there, and having like these two dragon, which ultimately is kind of a mid-range deck, have that kind of synergy and just that deck buffing capability is so freaking cool.
Yeah, I think this card specifically, and
Aladdis the Gallant?
Aladdis, I think these hit the design for leveling Elder Dragon. I think they both do exactly what they're designed to do.
Yeah.
You're not going to see me playing Aladdis in Demacia just on its own. Nope, I'm playing this in a specific Elder Dragon deck.
Dude, you can try playing this in Demacia, but it has no text if you do.
Yeah, it's basically just a 7-mana 7/6 with Fury, which for 7 mana it's not the best. It's not the best. However, when you're in Elder Dragon, you're loving life here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, these cards. I've seen you play the deck. I've not played that version of the deck. I haven't played Gem Dragon yet. On early access, I played this card, and I did like it as well. However, I found my love with another Demacia card. In Morgana.
I also found my love in a Targon card, Morgana. But yeah.
So you had your number 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for my number 2, which is probably... Ooh, it's quite tricky. So I'll do an honorary one, which is, it's honorary second, but it's because it died. I think it's time we talk about High Show.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I will DM you the thing to open up in a second. So this is High Show, or should we say this is the old High Show. This is a original design High Show, which is a 9-mana 9/9 from Ionia with Spell Shield with the text, each round, the first card you play costs 9 less. The interesting thing about this card is that this effect came down the turn it was played. So if you played this for 9 mana, his effect would immediately come into play, and the next card that you play that turn would be 9 mana less. So in theory, you could play High Show into High Show into High Show, and you'd still have another card that you could play that turn. So that was what most of the decks were doing. There was a couple of other cards that got released in this expansion, like Empyrean Dance, which is a stopper, basically a deny for Ionia, and it recalls and it summons a 6/5 elusive, which the High Show decks were running, or they would be running Singular Will, which is also 9 mana now, because basically you could chain them out and then your opponent be like, oh, I can't do anything. A lot of people then found a bug with this card where if you could Pokestick this card, you would also... So if I was playing High Show and Sunny Pokesticked my High Show, he would then also get the discount, which is... it's an interesting bug, to say the least.
Yeah.
So it was confirmed that they were going to try and get it fixed for Worlds, just for that bug. And everyone in the early access was like, okay, that's fine. We'll know maybe to prepare for that change coming in. And then... the other day, we received news, and they killed him. So this graphic is a little bit wrong. It's actually a 10 mana 9/9. I messed up on the graphic because I was midstream when this happened. Everyone came into the chat and was like, "Oh my god, please tell me you've seen the change." And I'm like, "What are you on about?" So Haisho is increasing by 1 mana and losing spell shield, and he will no longer reduce the card when he was silenced or removed from board. So that was another thing that people figured out, that if you removed Haisho, the effect was still in play. You couldn't silence him or you couldn't remove him. So they basically killed the card, which is it's kind of interesting because I was talking to Kuvi and we were saying like, "Oh yeah, no, this Haisho card's pretty good," and Kuvi was like, "Potentially, yeah, I may be potentially running an item in Worlds." When this announcement came out, I'm fairly sure Kuvi should have been on a watch list. Kuvi was out for blood. I'm fairly sure the lineup was 9 Haishos because of how strong it was.
Oh wow!
It's the
this is the champion strength of
it's the champion
last year.
Champion strength of last year. Which is, I think it's fair. It's a very strong card. If you got the combo, there was basically nothing your opponent could do because they couldn't answer it because the effect was, "Oh, you removed it." Oh, just for example, I play Haisho, you recall it. Well, I've still got 9 mana discount. I'll just play Haisho again. Like, there was no way to really answer it. So
that's actually surprise. I'm back. I never realized that would actually be how it worked. I was just thinking like vengeance, but recall is just, hey, I'm back.
So you couldn't. There was a couple of stuff that you just straight up couldn't do. So I think Kuvi was on the Haisho is just broken. I'm going to play Haisho and hope to God that I hit the combo and don't run into any aggro. And is a very big surprise. A lot of people were very happy about this, myself included. This card was very frustrating to deal with. I think it's another topic we need to have on balancing cards. Riot really like to kill cards now. If a card is problematic, they don't like, "Hey, we're gonna like do a small change." They're like, no, we're hitting this card hard. We've had Samira, we've had
Samira got nerfed like 4 times before that, right? It's the same with champion strength. It's like they've tried to take.
No. There was a difference between the Samira changes that they did and then the last one. They were like,
sure.
It's like saying, "I'm gonna trim the tree," and instead of trimming the tree, they've just gone, "Right, we're gonna hit the base of the tree with dynamite." The tree is no longer there.
They're going like branch by branch, and then eventually like, okay, just dynamite the tree. Yeah. Okay, no, that's fair.
It's a problem card, but it is a thing that I think is a discussion that we should be having. Yes, these cards are problematic that they're trying to balance, but the way that they're balancing them, I am a little bit upset with the fact that some of these cards are just dead now. Like, if you see a Haisho, you might be seeing 1 Haisho in a deck because they're trying to get that effect. I would be very surprised if I saw more than 1 deck that isn't like running Haisho. Like, I expect an Elder Dragon deck maybe in Worlds where someone's still coping on it. I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't see a version of Haisho in Worlds.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Mm-hmm.
I will say though, it was needed. I agree with a lot of people. I think a nerf was needed. And they just decided we're not going to make a champion strength for Worlds. There's no Haisho.
It's better that way.
Let's have some creative deck building. And I think for the viewing experience, I will lie, I'm not going to complain that much because if I saw Haisho for 7 hours straight while I'm doing my social posts, I think I would go crazy. Maybe we see them like do something with this card toward the end of the year, start of next year. We'll see. But yeah, this is my second card for the expansion. This card was meta defining. The day it was released, people were like, "Okay, we know what we're doing with this card." So I'll pass off to you for your third and final card of the expansion.
Okay, I have a few as like honorary mention, like the Shady Spectacles, which I haven't really experimented with, but with Nakatak they seem very strong. I really like the Honest Croupier too, even though it's not a great card, but it feels really fun to play this in like a spell deck. Get your coral creatures, get your 1 spell mana, get the random 1 spell to buff this up in at burst speed. But my real choice would have to be, I think you would probably choose it otherwise, but the Mage Seeker Inquisitor, the 4 mana 3/2 that we talked about before that curses the opponent with suppression. This card is such an interesting like concept to exist in Runeterra in general because of the summon effect. it's not like I play a spell and I give you this. It's not like Morgana with Lisa and Dolly, where it's like you target something. It's a play effect. It's not a summon effect. This is like something that you can kill and bring back. This is something you can stick in the Black Flame, and then when you attack, your opponent gets the suppression. They cannot do anything anymore during combat. I feel like I'm no designer, but I feel like this is exactly the kind of thing that could potentially kind of limit design space, like directly. If they think that exploding landmarks is limiting design because like Zillion and time bombs exist, and every time they want to do something cool with landmarks, they're like, "Oh, does this break Zillion and time bombs?" I feel like if they want to print a card in Demacia that does something cool with summon effects, they'll have to think like, "Oh, can we do that with the Mageseeker Inquisitor?" Because this is a card that if you're playing a spell deck, it just kind of says, "Okay, you cannot play the game unless you are prepared at all stages for this card to come out." Now, I am the biggest like Spellslinger hater out there because I think Seraphine and Nami decks are insanely cringe, and I think the execution on these decks is very poor. The discard like is just #1 like Spellsling hater. So I think it needs to be mentioned, but I wonder what it means for the design space.
I'm just gonna say rip Bozo to Spellslinger's decks. You've had your meta last expansion. It's now time for us. Hey.
I mean, Seraphine players out there, it's +1 for your stupid Seraphine. So take the win and suck it.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean, but I'm not gonna lie, I do think this card is very balanced. I think the idea of printing it with Mordekaiser is a Mordekaiser issue, mainly because of the revive thing, not itself. As a Demacia card, this card is perfectly balanced. I don't think there's an issue with this card. 4 mana, you pay for a little bit understated unit. You could buff it up with Galio, you can buff it up with Garen. There's a lot of like form ups. There's a lot of buff spells available in Demacia. I think this card is perfectly balanced. When we introduce other regions like Mordekaiser and Shadow Isles or Noxus, it is when it becomes a problem because of the suppression printing. Maybe they fix this in the future by making it a play effect if they don't want that to happen. I don't know, but for the time being, I'm going to enjoy my suppression, baby.
Yeah, no, me too. I think there's much to say about this card. We already talked about it before, but that whole discussion, that thing I just brought up about the design space, it's kind of interesting, right? Did you think that they rotated Spectral Matron because they knew they were printing Heisho? Could you imagine Spectral Matron into Heisho copy and then just actual Heisho into another card? That would be the combo, right?
Oh, yeah, you could do like turn 8.
So yeah, turn 8, Spectral Matron summons a ephemeral Heisho. That Heisho discount makes you play the real Heisho, and that real Heisho makes you play another card.
Yeah, it's kind of strong.
Yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we're in Ionia, so we have 3 mana banks, and then what we do, we Death Mask, and then we give the ephemeral from the Heisho, we give it to a unit.
Yeah, we give it to Eddie.
And then we kill him.
All right.
But for my last card, it's very tricky, but I don't think many people have done this. But I'm going to give it to the Charlatan.
Charlatan? Which one is that?
The Fishmonger at the very bottom.
Oh, the 4 mana 4.
I think this card. So the Pilt over landmark. It was called
Hexcore Foundry. That's the one. Yeah.
Yes. It got rotated, and everyone was like, interesting, because not a lot of, like I think it was surprising for most people that it got rotated because I didn't think it was that bad. However, this card is just that on crack. The fleeting that it gives to your opponent's card. So audio listeners, this is the 4 mana 4/4 Charlatan at Fishmonger. Round start, all players draw a card, but your opponent's card that they draw with this card becomes fleeting. It's very good. It's very well statted, especially when you're playing it in like Kate Timo. You're already in Freljord, so like they're not killing this unit unless they put a kill spell on it. Like this is a back row. I will block when I'm ready with it. I climbed to Masters. I climbed to Diamond using a Kate Timo deck, going between the two, and I had a very fun time with this. It is very. I wouldn't say it's broken. I just think it's a very fun card to play with. I think it's very well designed. And it kind of forces your opponent to like stress a bit because there is a couple of Elder Dragons that I threw away with this card because they can't play them when you play it on turn 4 and it draws on turn 5. So yeah, it kind of forces them to adapt their game plan. And it's like playing against Lurk. You're no longer playing your deck, you're just playing to stop your opponent's deck, and that's all they were doing. They were trying to stop me from getting mushrooms because they can't get their cards out. But yeah, very fun card. This gets my 3rd spot.
Honestly, good choice. I'm a big fan of this card as well, even though I feel like I lose to Puffcap decks more often than not. But it's good content, man. So this guy looks like a real jerk. He's kind of smug, he's ugly, and I love him for that. So those are the 3 cards for both of us. I think we should move on to looking at what the best decks in the game are. I'm gonna open that up. We just quickly look at the stats here. Or we can look at meta. Maybe that's a better way of doing it. So, most played deck in the game is still Elder Dragon Volibear. However, the win rate has dropped from 56% win rate to 44% win rate.
So the only reason I think this is bad right now is because people are outdoing it. Like, it's a very slow deck.
Yeah.
If you're not answering... If you can't, like... Basically, they just want to like hope that you don't have any units early, because if it's a late game deck versus a late game deck, they will win. The version that we're looking at is Atakan one-off, but most of them have. Well, I'm looking at this guy's here. He has 3 Atakans, 3 Cithrias. Another one here is 3 Atakan. Basically, if it goes to the late game and you don't have an answer for Atakan, you're basically lost the game, because these are big boy units. They're going to hit your face. Can't be stopped with the Elder Dragon. I think the fact it's dropping in play rate is because people are playing a bit more faster decks. I think this also loses to the Elder Dragon Nora, which we'll probably be talking about later, because that is also a very good Elder Dragon deck going around. But I think people just like Elder Dragon. Like, even if they're not winning, they're probably just playing for fun. So,
yeah, honestly. This version here has 48% win rate, which looks to be like a little less greedy than the other one.
I would probably change your data, by the way, to the last 7 days. It gives you a better...
Alright.
Gives you... once it updates, there we go.
Oh, that's 50% win rate. Alright.
Yeah. Well, that was when at the start of the...
Yeah.
It's been a week, so the stats are a bit skewed to most recently, but people are playing it. People enjoy it. As you can see, it's most played deck with 26,000 matches on here, so...
Yeah, which is well above average, honestly. It started with a 35% play rate in the first couple of days, which was just insane. And the next most played new deck at number 3 is Morgana Riven with a 55% win rate. And I love this deck. I'm a Riven lover. I love the playstyle that Riven provides. And seeing Morgana just completed in a lockdown deck with stuns like Shield Vault and the Sunhawk, and then having Lisa and Dolly and Morgana and Dark Binding just completely lock your opponent down is... I don't know, man. Maybe I'm a sicko. Maybe I just enjoy seeing my opponents suffer where they don't even get to play a fair game when I'm already building like units that are way bigger than them to beat them. I just like going that extra mile and just over the top killing them.
Yeah, so I've not played this deck yet, and I've only played it a few times. Played against it a few times, but yeah, no, it's got like a really low drop of units. Like, there's a lot of 1-drops. There's quite a few 2-drops. And your like higher expensive cards are like Morgana and the Fire Spitter. Like, yeah, it's kind of aggro, kind of like, I'm just gonna, if you have anything big, I've got an answer to it. Yeah, it's a very good deck. I think this is probably one of the quicker ways to level Morgana, just because of the blade fragments and the double target shield vault. Might has like seen a massive surge in play recently with the Fire Spitter.
I love him.
It's the Fire Spitter is just like, this is a deck where it's like, Fire Spitter is a very good card that doesn't deserve a nerf. This is like, Fire Spitter is good here. Then we get to Elder Dragon with Fire Spitter and you're like, oh no. But
he's a 10-4 now, or a 9, or not 10-4, it's a 10-6 or a 9-5 now.
Yeah, it's this is a very good deck though. This is I'd probably say this is the closest to aggro we have in this patch. Maybe apart from like Gwen Z, because that's very aggro.
Yeah, there's also some Jinx Bandle City, which comes pretty close, but I don't know what the play rate is on that. It was played a lot before the patch, but yeah.
Yeah, I can see it on the stats, it's just below. But yeah, no, it's a very fun deck. And now...
and then at number 4, we have just the wildest deck I've ever... I don't know how this is possible, but this is Garen Elder Dragon that doesn't run any spells. It just runs like elites, and then 1 Elder Dragon for Ardent Tracker, which is the 4/6 that gets reduced by 1 mana for every elite you play and has Scout, and Raise Fire Spitter and Seinen. And I gotta say, like, just playing playing Elder Dragon just for Seinen and Elites already kind of makes sense, to be honest.
So I was gonna say, if you go to Sukoi's version, which is the second option there, so Sukoi's in Worlds Qualified. So looking at his deck is probably a good thing, which I think is the correct deck, by the way. If you're not running form up in your Elites is the name of this apparently. Elites. I think this is the correct version. It's very heavy on units. The entire plan is play as many elite units as possible so that your Ardent Tracker is 0 cost, and then you get the Elder Dragon buff because its base cost is 6. Fire Spitter is just probably the best 6 drop in the game, just on its own. So he's kind of saying, I'm going to run the elite package, which is a good package. It's kind of like beats you down a little bit early if you don't manage to like kill off the Battlesmiths or like trade well with units. It's interesting to see how this deck is going to do. There is the potential, Sukoi's got a 60% win rate. There is the chance that we see this in Worlds. I'd be very interesting to see how this does. I've played it a couple times, and as the elite player, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really enjoy this deck. I know it plays a bit different to how I like to play elites. That's the thing. I like to play elites as I'm going to attack, I'm going to win the trade and have more units than you at the end of the attack, and then win over with a rally or with something like that. And this deck feels a little bit different to that. It is still a very good deck, and the most of the time that you win is because Ardent Tracker comes down, you give it like impact, and it has Scout. So like this card automatically does 4 damage on its attacks. Fire Spitter then does 2 with its attacks. And then if you play those and the game goes on a little bit, Elder Dragon just comes down and wins you the game. Because surprisingly, elites level Elder Dragon very quickly.
That is a pretty big surprise, actually, yeah. I'm surprised that this version that we're looking at right now from Sukoi doesn't run Seinen, which kind of just felt like a really good card to me in elites. Just giving your board +1/+1 and drawing 2 cards. And the boons on Seinen seemed like it would be good enough, but the world qualified player knows best, so I'm just going to take that for what it is. I have not played it. I played against it a couple of times. I'm not impressed. I'm just going to be completely honest. That's not my deck.
I will confirm that I have made a Seinen Elites deck many, many months ago, and it was okay because I ran like tech deny cards in there, and no one expects deny in Demacia. But Seinen is a good card in Elites if you're going for that like beat down kind of strategy. So yeah, I would recommend maybe 1 or 2 in deck.
Dude, look at this. I saw that Elder Dragon Shivan had a 49% win rate, and then I see that people with my version are on a 56% win rate. Wow. That's very surprising to see, I'll be honest.
Okay, there's a card in here that I want to talk about, because I want to get your opinion on it. We've not talked about it yet. Magical Fettering.
Yeah.
What do you think about this card?
I think it's a really, really, really cool card. And I'm not much of a formidable player, but I think a formidable deck with Magical Fettering and the Mageseeker Inquisitor would go really, really hard if you can like find a refined list for that. This is like, I'm playing Magical Fettering and the Mageseeker Inquisitor with like 1 million challengers in the early game to kind of just stabilize and take out some threats. And then you just play Cloud Drake, Enraged Fire Spitter, Gentle Gem Dragon, Aladdis to win the game, right? I played 3 Elder Dragons. I think you need to play 2. You probably play like 1 Strafing Strike for an Elder Dragon or something. But I mean, I play for YouTube content. I want to see the Elder Dragon. I cannot be stopped. Can you blame me, right? But this early game, like like so many games, I would just play like Mageseeker Inquisitor on 4. I would have 2 Challenger or 3 Challenger. I would take out some threats, and then I would play like Magical Fettering the turn after. Force my opponent to spend 2 more mana as well, waste their mana, until eventually I get to turn 6 and I start playing my Cloud Drake and then Enraged Fire Spitter to just take over the game. And having my opponent spend mana to get rid of that suppression multiple times so I can just play my dragons freely is a really fun angle for me. And I like what it means for those decks, and the different like kind of play styles and different decisions that you get to make with it is really, really, really fun.
One of the things I quite like about Elder Dragon is when he comes down, he immediately makes Elder Dragons everywhere basically -6 cost.
Yeah.
So if there is a scenario where your first Elder Dragon dies, your second one is very, very cheap. Yeah. Especially because you've probably played 6 cost units beforehand. So he's probably going to be like a 4 cost unit, maybe even less.
No, it's unique. It's individual Dragon Boons. Or is that not what you mean? It's for each. He discounts himself for each different Dragon Boon you play. So he can be 6 mana.
Interesting. I didn't even realize that. There you go. I learned something new today.
Right, there you go.
So 6 mana Elder Dragon, still a pretty good card, let's be honest.
Yeah, no, that's a 14/14. So yeah.
Yeah, no, but yeah, this is the version that I was playing on early access.
12?
It's 13/13.
Oh yeah, 13/13. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Is it? Hold on.
It's...
Grant +1/+1, +1/+1, +1/+1, and Death +12. Yeah, it's 13/13.
Yeah, 13/13. You're right. God damn it. One off.
But yeah, no, Elder Dragon is like, this is what I mean. Elder Dragon is very flexible. Do you want to just do the one Elder Dragon and get his origin because his origin is very strong? Do you want to go in more of this, where this is something that I would play? This is what I was playing in early access because this is a very fun mid-range deck. And yeah, no, I think Magical Veteran does quite a lot for Demacia. It's basically a 0-cost card. But apart from that, I like the deck and I like Elder Dragon, but I like Morgana more.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't blame you. I think it's funny that Broadwing is in this deck, by the way, because it's +0 for Elder Dragon, but Magical Feathering on Broadwing just does so much work that I think it's still worth it. So, oh, here it is. Okay, so this deck popped up a little later, so it didn't really show up in the stats. This is Nora, Gnar, and Elder Dragon, with the Elder Dragon card specifically being, of course, Lord Broadmane, 1 Enraged Fire Spitter in this version, 1 Seinen Thousand-Tailed, 3 Riptide Rex, and 3 Burble Fishies. I don't know if this is the most refined version. I'm sure there's other version out there. This one is by Shihu. But what's surprising to me is that the units it plays before 6 are 1 Portal Pioneer, 3 Junk Construct, and 3 Conscious, with like, you know, your usual Pie Toss, Drop the Bomb, Group Shot to stay alive until turn 6, I guess, until you can play that Broadmane and win again. I'm always so surprised at how this deck performs, but it consistently does. With Jhin, at least, because I've seen that one more.
So this was the reason why, when I did my tier list, that the Jhin was so high up. Because it gives you access to 2 very specific cards. Broadmane, Riptide Rex.
Yep.
Those 2 cards alone are scary good. For those that don't know, Broadbane comes down on the board, and if you use a fast or slow spell or a skill, the unit will die, and Riptide Rex.
If they're damaged,
If they're damaged, I thought I had said that. Okay. So Riptide Rex comes down, and then basically he'll deal 2 to a unit, and then he'll do it 7 times if he goes randomly. He can sometimes just clear the board. Which is a very, very strong combo. You use Drop the Bomb on turn 5 so that you can Riptide Rex on 8. And the fact that Broadbane can come down now and it's no longer a 3/4, it may be a 5/7. There's a number, or you can give it Deathless so you can't kill it. It's a very, very scary combo. Elder Dragon, like Sunny said, is just a one-of in this deck to get the origin. It plays a million spells, so of course Burble Fish is in here, so you have like a 3/2 elusive that has like impact 2 or tough or deathless.
What's messed up actually is that Burble Fish now only pulls spells from Bandle City, and I'm pretty sure all 1-cost Bandle City spells are either deal 1 or generate like a unit. So there's no more Snapjaw.
There's no bad. So this is the thing that Drizoth or Aikaido was talking about on Twitter today. Sorry if you know who you are, but you know who I'm talking about, the people that do. So the only bad spell that you can get is Bursting Backpack.
Oh, yeah.
Which, it's not the worst.
It's free, so it's like, why not, right?
Well, I'll go through them quickly. So we have Bandle Tailstones, which is pretty good. It gives you the flexibility if you want it.
I'd say very good, yeah.
Bursting Backpack. Okay, it's not the best, but it's not...
It's not unplayable, but it's not great.
The Shrooms might be good. You can proc Plunder with Riptide Rex. Yeah. So yeah, the third one, Poison Dart, which is a pretty good card. You can either kill a unit or activate Plunder. Fey Sprout is your number 4, which is Manifest a Fey and grant it +1/+1. That's basically a free unit. And you get the choice because it's Manifest. It's just not give you a random one, so you can kind of like pick and choose for what you want. Group Shot, insanely good in this. You're already running it in the deck anyway. Same with Pie Toss. The next one is Scrap Heap, which is a pretty interesting one because you can get rid of some of the stuff in the deck. Like you can go, okay, I want Portal Pioneer, and then I'm going to get rid of the spell it gives me.
Yeah, or the Anvil. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Anvil. And then you can get like the 6/6 that
Or your
gives
Elder Dragon.
everything.
You can get rid of that too, honestly.
Honestly, yeah, you're probably not even that bad. And then the last one is a Trinket Trade, which is also a manifest thing, so you can get a spell. So there's no bad cards.
No,
you have awkward cards, but there's nothing that like there's no Snapjaw, which is very scary for this. So I think the correct thing that people were saying is you only run 2 Burble Fish, not 3, because there is a lot of spells in the deck, but you can get to the point where like if you have 3 Burble Fish in hand, like you're not. Yeah. That's it. You're gonna struggle to get them out. So those are the odd cases. So I'd understand running 2. But this is a very, very strong deck.
Yeah.
When I was playing my Akshan deck, I'm using Lucky Finds to get tough, because if I got tough, I kind of won on the spot. It's a bit tricky. Drop the Bomb and Broadmain are like the only, and Fire Spitter are the only way they can deal 2 damage. So if you can just play around those, you can do quite well if you like granting tough. So if you go like Chain Vest with Pantheon, maybe we'll see that as a counter. It's a bit tricky though, but it's a very, very strong deck, and I will expect to see this deck in Worlds. There's a lot of control players in Worlds, and I think this deck is going to make an appearance. Yeah,
this also fits really well into like other decks that are fan favorite, right? Like Seraphine Set or something. I don't know if we're going to see any of that, but actually the 2 new cards that Ionia got is Haste Show and the Empyrean Dance, which don't necessarily fit in Seraphine decks that well, I suppose.
Yeah, so speaking of that, I also made a tweet the other day that was saying that we were kind of blessed because variety cards, they always come from the set that comes next. There's no reason, like when we get a variety set, technically that's the start of the new expansion, because it hints towards it. If we did not have Trusty Adnir, there was only 2 cards that we could have possibly gotten of the variety set. We could have got the Ocean Drake.
Yeah.
Because it would have hinted like the other dragons, or we would have gotten High Show, because I don't think we would have gotten the Deny.
Yeah.
Which means with the High Show card, we could have had a month of High Show. That is not something I would have enjoyed.
That would be very playable in Eternal too, 100%. There would be some kind of meta warped around High Show, I think. But then again, like if it was released, maybe we would have caught the bug earlier and it would have been fixed like before Worlds, and World player would have a little bit of an easier time preparing for it.
I guess.
But no, I think you're right. I'm glad that we didn't have to deal with that.
We got lucky with Trusty Adnir. Thank you, Rusticles.
Exactly. So I kind of want to pull up this Mordekaiser deck, but okay, I'm just gonna filter by Mordekaiser because that's the one I really want to look at.
For more recent data, I'd probably set this one to 2 days because this one's really only seen play.
Yeah.
Recently, but this one that you clicked was 7 days, and I'm fairly sure it was a 59%. Yeah, this as you can see, this is like what I do with my Akshan deck, where I just go full 1 region and then just go Morgana and another Demacia card, and yeah, they're just abusing the fact that Mage Seeker is very, very strong with the revival mechanic.
Yeah, exactly. So all this deck does is just like removal. They play Legion of the Severed to give Deathless to, I don't know, to Mordekaiser, to Spectral Ironhound, to Rekindler, maybe even to Mage Seeker Inquisitor if you have none of those cards in hand. So when they die for the first time, they have their summon effect again, or in Mordekaiser's case, your important champ is just a little bit more sticky. And then, you know, you play Mage Seeker Inquisitor, Spectral Ironhound, Rekindler, and you revive with Mordekaiser. It's the same thing. You just get their summon effect multiple times, and you try to break the game as well as you can with just units you're not supposed to have. And that's pretty awesome. I like it. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, it's the fact that you can't really punish it. Like, if you try to kill the Mage Seeker, there's so many fast spells that if they tap out trying to kill him, you just go, okay, well, I'm going to Hate Spike, or I'm going to Guns Beyond, or I'm going to Death Grasp. Yeah, no, it's a very, very strong deck. Again, I'm very expected to see this one, particularly in Worlds. It's also interesting that 2 of the new champs are being played in the deck.
Yeah, Morgana is a bit out of place, but see, there's like a lot of 2-sided targets with Hate Spike and Death's Grasp, which is really funny because that also levels Mordecai or Morgana. You're not like buffing your units, you're killing them. But hey, that works too.
Mordekaiser gives it 2 progress with the kill on summon.
That too, yep.
Yeah, it's very fast at leveling Morgana, like turn 7, turn 8. So yeah, no, it's a very, very strong deck. I've run into it a couple of times and most of the time I just look at it and go, okay, I've lost this game, because there's not really much you can do once the Mordekaiser comes down.
Yeah, and this deck also feels like it's very much just like, okay, Mordekaiser has a very strong effect, a strong aura. I'm just going to build a deck around that and have like half of it be removal, have like the other less than half, maybe like 10% or something of the deck be, okay, these are cards that work well with Mordekaiser, and that's just enough to make a good deck concept. And this is also where cards like Soul Harvest, Hate Spike, the new Death Scraps just come in as like really solid removal for Shadow Isle that they actually have had all year. But now they're able to actually build a consistent deck around it and have real payoff for playing those cards. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm happy for them. I think getting 3 champions like this that are such slam dunks and just feel really cool to play is enough for me to just fall in love with an expansion. And I'm just gonna say it again, best expansion of the year by far. The last one was good. It was amazing. Volibear was there. Neela and Janna was a fun deck, even though it was a bit strong. And now we just have 3 champions that can stand on their own legs, find decks to build around, but also work well together and create meta decks that are unique and interesting and stuff we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I think the fact that I can play Akshan Morgana, even though the win rate for me is good, but the fact that I'm actually enjoying the deck even when I'm losing is probably like a good sign that this expansion is doing very well. But yeah, I think compared to the other ones, I think this one is like quite easily at the top.
Yeah, agreed. So I think we kind of covered like most of the meta decks that are seeing play right now. There's some like pretty low win rate stuff here as well, but this should be what we can expect at Worlds. Just looking at ladder, the World players might be hiding some stuff from us. They probably are if they're smart. To be honest, that's what I would do if I was there. But one thing that we should go over is bugs, and there are more than a few of them. I think you might have a better look at what they are. So the bug for Heisho got fixed. And entirely?
Yeah, I never put the thing on the website. I should probably do that. So yeah, the Heisho bug was well, there was technically 2 things that people were saying were bugged. One was the spell shield, like if you pinged the spell shield off, you'd also get the discount. That was confirmed a bug. The second one that people said was a bug was that if you removed him from the board, he'd still keep the effect there. That was confirmed to be like, intentional. So I think that one got confused. So John confirmed that one was like, yeah, no, that's supposed to be in the game. And everyone was like, that does not feel right. So they kind of stepped that one back, which I'm glad they did. I might be misremembering. Let me just do some searching while I
while you search. I can just talk about another bug that has actively lost me games yesterday, which is the Chinchilla with Fire Spitter interaction. Chinchilla specifically says I target or I copy elemental skills and spells with the exact same target, but Fire Spitter targets something and deals 2 damage to them. So if you have Chinchilla on the board, you would expect the Fire Spitter ability to go on the stack and target the same thing twice. That does not happen. The first one targets, the second one just goes on the stack without a target and only does 2 to the enemy nexus. So you only deal 2 instead of 4. And that is very frustrating because it's not what you'd expect. And I hope it gets fixed.
Yeah, so I found the thing for John. It was the thing where he came down and immediately gave you discount. I misremembered it a little bit, but it was soon enough. So a lot of people thought the bug was that when he came down, he immediately discounted, which is how we've all experienced it. A lot of people were saying the way it's worded, it doesn't seem like that's how it should be. But that was confirmed not to be a bug.
That's how Gleaming Lantern works, right? Gleaming Lantern does the same thing with Phase. You can play Gleaming Lantern on 3, and then play like your Young Construct or something for 0. I was expecting. It's funny because I did the card review with Raran today, and I showed him Heisho. Spoiler alert. And he was like, "Oh, in Hearthstone, this does not work that way. In Hearthstone, if you play this card, you do not get a discount because it's not the first card you play." But instinctively, he said like, "Oh, I'm assuming this works right after you play it." But it's funny that even he interprets it that way, even though in Hearthstone it's the opposite. But yeah, I think it should work like Gleaming Lantern to keep it consistent, and also makes more sense if you actually want to play Heisho instead of having to wait for the next turn. I'm kind of coping for Ionia here, but you know, it's a 9 mana card. So
talking about Ionia, would you like to open up a Emperor's Dance?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that one is bugged too.
So this is very funny bug. So the thing that it denies is a normal skill. You cannot use this on an elemental skill, which is funny because you cannot deny the Dragon Boons or Fire Spitter, and it's such a funny thing. It's not a bug. Technically, it's a feature. You shouldn't be able to deny elemental skills with this. But I think they said they were going to fix this. I don't think it was like a priority one like Kaisho, but I do think it is very funny.
There's more. There's more that's bugged with this card, but I forgot what it was. I think if you try to deny a skill, you don't get the Empyrean or something.
Oh, you also do that?
Oh man, I ran it. Somebody in the comments is gonna have to leave what they encountered below, because I can't quite remember, but I ran into this. I generated Empyrean Dance somehow. I forgot how. I tried to deny a skill, and it didn't give me the Empyrean, I think. Or I was like doubling it up and it only gave me one. It was something like that, but I can't exactly remember what it was. Another bug?
I've not experienced that one though.
Yeah, somebody's gonna have to leave a comment if they know what it is, but I know there is more than that. Also, one more thing about Path to Champions. I don't know how many people care about this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. There is a power, an item for your cards that is give a unit +1/+0 and deathless. If you take that item and you give it to one of your units, it works 10% of the time. 10% of the time, your unit will actually get revived from Deathless. And the other time, it just dies. Deathless does nothing. Yeah.
I was not aware of that.
Yep. I'll put that one out there too.
So, I want to talk about a card, by the way, that I didn't realize this interaction worked until it happened to me. Can you just open the reptile, the Noxus one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When this Nexus strikes you, what card goes in your hand?
Ichor.
Okay. What happens when it Nexus strikes you again?
You take 1 damage.
Yeah, so what happens to Ichor?
It becomes 6 mana and it deals 2.
I didn't realize the deal 2 went up. It went up in thing. I got hit with this and I was like, it's just going to be 1 forever. And then it hit me and I'm like, oh no, I don't like this anymore.
If you somehow make this go over 12 mana and your opponent can't pay for it anymore, they just take 5 every single turn and they can't get rid of it. Impossible.
So it made me realize that double reptile is terrifying because it's like, oh, this is like a reverse decimate. It's like, I have to pay to make sure my opponent isn't like dealing 4 to me each turn.
We have to play a deck that gives the Red Barb Razor Maze double strike, and we need to rally.
Oh my god.
It's an OTK basically. Right? Well, not really.
We could do that. We have Tactician, and we can go to Ionia for the double.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you want to be really funny, you can do the rally landmark in the Noxus. So you can get like attack, rally, attack, play the card, rally.
This might need to be a deck I play. That's just really, really funny.
It sounds like a Sunny deck.
Yeah, it does because it's awful. That's why, right?
I'm just looking at the last few cards now. I don't think there's any more bugs. I think we dealt with all of them.
Yeah, I feel like there might. I feel like I've run into so many bugs that I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, I've been trying to report them to John, and every single time I'm like, "Hi, John, it's me again." I swear, every single time he opens Twitter and he sees me, he's like, "Oh my god, give me a break."
Yeah, but honestly, there is just so much with this expansion. I think I've run into like at least 5 bugs, all different ones. So if you're watching this podcast right now and you have encountered any bugs, please post it below. We will report it to Riot to hopefully get it fixed, because it's. Yeah, we don't play every card in the game. Even if a card seems fine, sometimes there's like this weird interaction that will just break it. But if you encounter that, let us know. We'll pass it along, and we'll somehow polish this game back up to the way it was before. Because this expansion has been pretty ridiculous.
I did find another bug. I just went through John's Twitter to see what he's been replying to.
Mm-hmm.
The dragon card that attaches, the double attack one.
The dragon. Papercraft Dragon, that's the one, yeah.
Okay, so that's a 6-cost card. So when you play it, it comes up with the Dragon Boon when you attach.
Okay, makes sense.
So if you give that Papercraft Dragon deathless, it should make the unit deathless. Like the unit that's being attached.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The Dragon Boons don't go onto it. So someone had to report that to John and was like, yeah, so my unit got a Dragon Boon and it just didn't go on my unit. And he was just like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna have to talk to the team about that one. Dude, like, give him the option.
Attach you this, man.
Like, yeah, I mean, we said this before we started the podcast. We're both in agreement that Yumi is dead next year.
Yeah,
Yumi, she's sent to the dead realm. Mordekaiser can look after her.
Pet cat, yeah.
There's just attached units have just always been annoying to deal with, and I think the devs have just agreed to like, Do you know what? I would not be surprised if we opened up Eternal one day and there's just no attack units. They just delete them from the game. And I was like, I'm sure there was a dragon card. There was a cat with a boat. I don't know.
Actually, okay. So before we look at the calendar, I want to mention one more thing, and that is the Mordekaiser OTK deck with Banquet Hall.
Yes.
I am very surprised that Banquet Hall killing a unit, like it deals 2 to the unit you summon, right?
Yes.
Okay, just for the people that don't know, Banquet Hall, it's a 2-mana landmark that says if you play a unit, deal 2 damage to it, but they all cost 1 less. All units cost 1 less. So if you play a 1/1, it dies instantly to the effect, right? We've seen like OTKs with the 2-mana 2/2 from Shadow Owl with the Nightfall. I forgot the name.
I have the voice stuck in my head for the card.
Kill them, kill them.
Yeah,
that one.
Kill them. Yeah, and then there's another one it has, but
Yeah, but with Shackled Gas, for example, this will be 0 mana because of the landmark, and then it dies instantly, but because Mordecai is on the field, it instantly revives. But what I'm surprised about is that the Banquet Hall actually counts you playing this unit and the landmark killing it as slay. I feel like if we're looking at how Husks works, Husks aren't slay. If you play a unit on a Husk, the Husk isn't slain by the unit you play. But the Banquet Hall does count as slaying.
I think you might be wrong there, because Lucian, it dies for sure.
It's not slaying. It doesn't count as slay.
We'd have to... Oh, that's a good point. I don't think Nasus.
Yeah, because Mordekaiser needs you to slay to actually deal 1. Kindred, if you have a Kindred on board and you play a unit on a Husk that's on the board, Kindred doesn't activate. Husk dying aren't slay. Nasus doesn't get +1/+1. I remember when Husks came out, people asked, does this count as slay? And they said, no, this will be very, very broken with Nasus and Kindred. So
very good point. Very good point. I could definitely see... Is that the only instance of the landmark?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it would change. Wait, no, because there's no... Okay, I'm going to do some investigations. Landmark, deal.
I'm just surprised.
It's the only landmark that deals anything.
Yeah, so, that makes sense, right?
Change the interaction then.
Yeah, I think it will be like with the Nab, with the Chemtech Drake that they had to hotfix. I'm assuming that the Banquet Hall will no longer count as slay, and it will just count as something dying.
Sorry, I didn't check Eternal. Blighted Ravine is the only landmark that deals damage.
Yeah.
So I assume that will also count as slaying. So I could probably see it. There's no reason for them not to. Like, I wouldn't see them that.
Honestly, though, with Blighted Ravine, it's kind of annoying if they do that because it is a control card, and slaying can be seen as like a control thing as a payoff. So for Blighted Ravine, it would be a pretty big nerf, but it's it's an Eternal card, so whatever.
Yeah, maybe we could. Yeah, I see what you mean though. I think overall, the landmark shouldn't count it as a slay because luckily, very luckily, I have not run into this, but I have watched Visionary play this deck, and oh my god, does it look annoying to play against. Basically, you have to answer Mordekaiser a turn early, which is on 6. You can give him Deathless because you run the other card that you can see at the bottom left there, the give Deathless to a unit.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, so even if I do deal with this Mordekaiser, he still comes back. And it's when you play an ally, and it dies with Deathless, so it doesn't die because of the 1 health. And it's basically, do you have a specific answer to either deal with the landmark or deal with Mordekaiser? If you don't, you've just lost the game because, as you say, you play the unit, it dies, it comes back with Mordekaiser, then you get the other one in the hand, and it's just like a complete continuation of draining you after the Mordekaiser is attacked because you can level him instantly, but you do have to wait for Mordekaiser to attack to actually finish the combo. Yeah,
so Mordekaiser doesn't even need... No, he does need to be on board because he needs to revive the units constantly. Yeah, okay.
So it's a little bit tricky. It's not guaranteed lethal because you could stop the Mordekaiser from attacking, you can destroy the landmark, but once Mordekaiser is level 2 and has attacked, and Mordekaiser is on the board, that's it. Game's over. If you have no way to stop the combo from going off, they will pay 20 cards in a turn and just go.
Yeah.
And you will die.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm just surprised about that. I wanted to bring it up. I don't think it's a bug. I just think it's like they might change this because this is how it works. But that being said, again, if anyone finds any bugs, reply in the comments. We'll pass it along. We're going to look ahead in January. I don't know when it'll be, but somewhere in January, we'll have the first balance update, which is also when we will have the new podcast a week later. That would have to be like the 10th or the 17th. Balance,
so if you can see here, we're currently looking... Oh, so the first thing, before we go into January, can we just talk about Worlds, or do you want to do Worlds afterwards?
Let's talk about the next balance patch first.
In the client, it currently says that the next Runeterra Open is going to be on the 13th, on the Saturday, and then the 14th for day 2. The balance patch should then come, not the next Wednesday, it should come on the 24th. If we're following the rules that we've done every year, for the rest of this year, since Glory Navori, that was when we should get the balance patch. So the patch notes will be on the 23rd. However, I did reach out to Riot and said, hey, can you confirm these dates? Because I made a post, and then I reached out to them and was like, hey, I've made this post. Is this okay? And they were like, hey, delete that post because we're not sure. So nothing, even though it does say that Runeterra Open is on the 13th, that might change. Therefore, the rest of the calendar is kind of not confirmed. I'm hoping that we get confirmation in that first week of January because they should come back then. And we can get a confirmation of when stuff's going to happen. And then I can fill out the calendar for this expansion, and then we can put the date in for the next expansion because the in March should be the next expansion, which is also the return of rotation.
Yeah.
Which I'm very looking forward to because I think we should probably do a little bit of talking about this now since this is the last expansion. Talking about rotation. Looking back, I do think rotation was a little bit of a miss on some areas. I think on some areas it was really good, but I was trying to talk to Plink today on Twitter, talking about like Shurima, and I think Shurima has been gutted this entire year. They've had nothing. Like, you took out Absolver, so like the region lost like one of its big hitters, but like you rotated so much stuff that some regions have just felt like husks of what they used to be. Demacia was left as a champion strength region. There wasn't really much going on there after Vayne got tuned down a little bit. And I'm very excited to see what happens because I feel like I will give them the benefit of the doubt to say that maybe this rotation had its few misses, but I'm hoping that with this last year that we've looked over and gone, okay, these regions were suffering here, these regions were doing too good in this thing, that we won't have as many cards rotate out, number one, and we are going to see a couple of cards return, because they did say that we could potentially see cards return,
Vladimir,
and I think it's needed. I don't know about that one. I think Vladimir, if he comes to standard, would be a goddamn menace, and I do not want Noxus in my meta.
I mean, honestly though, Noxus has not been very good, and as long as Noxus has a control aspect that isn't I flock you, I'm kind of okay with it. And I think Vladimir, in how it does its removal, is kind of cool. And he kind of leaned towards more of an aggro champion. And as an aggro champion, I think that's a really interesting effect for him to have.
Yeah, okay. As long as you don't have flock back, I'll...
yeah, no, I'm okay with everything, really.
No, I do not want to see
rotate bot main, keep flock rotated. We're going to be happy. It's Nox going to be fun to play against as long as they don't have that cringe going on. Yeah, so March rotation, there will be more information from, the LOR report. You literally provide everything as soon as it's available. I am very curious what we're going to be seeing. But in the very, very, very near future, tomorrow, in fact, because this uploads on Wednesday, we're going to start with Worlds at 3 p.m., which I believe is...
British
UK
time. So so all of the times, so for people that I just want to clarify, all of these times that you can see where my finger is on the video, this time here, that is in GMT because we changed the clocks back. So that is Greenwich Mean Time, which is if you're in Europe, all you need to do is add an hour. If you're in PT, which is like West Coast America, there you go. Yeah, you can just open that image. That image is very good. So you can see the times here. America starts very early in the day, and the poor souls that are in like Japan, you can't really see it on the video. There you go. You can see that the people in Japan are not having a good time with Worlds. They're starting their Worlds at 12 in the morning, like midnight.
Yeah.
But you can't do it for everyone. It's just we're very fortunate because we're in the middle, so like we can like go to work and then come back and watch like the little bit if you're doing a full-time job. But if you're in America, it's going to be very difficult because it's at the start of the day, and if you're in like Asia, you're very, very screwed because you're watching it at midnight and it's going to finish at like 7 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. Like Western America is 7 a.m., Eastern America 10 a.m. Then for Europe, it's like 3 to 4 p.m. And this is an event that I think every day lasts like 7 or 8 hours. So it's 7 or 8 hours of Runeterra. It's a dream coming true. The peak of competition, where yours truly provides the voiceover for it. Of course, I might not be participating in Worlds, I might not be playing, but I do get to tell all the players what to do, what rules to follow, what the format is they're playing in. So technically, I am above competition in a way, which is pretty cool.
So I actually am not participating in Worlds, but I'll be working with Worlds. Riot will be retweeting the LOR report post. So I will be keeping everyone up to date. At the end of each round, so the stream will show you one round, and there'll be 7 rounds each day. I will be posting the scoreboard of like who has what score on day 1 and on day 2. Maybe putting some replays in there, just basically keeping people that can't watch the stream, they can like check Twitter and keep up to date on all things that is going on for Worlds. So hopefully, me doing that, Aegis doing productions, and Mastering Runeterra doing articles means that this World is going to be very, very good. And I have faith in everyone that is behind the scenes. So that we can make a really good viewing experience for everyone.
Yeah, every single year, Worlds has been an absolute banger, and I expect this year to be even better because of the production that's behind it this time. You, Red, everyone else on the team have been doing a banger job. So I'm very excited. I can't wait to see the decks. I can't wait to see to just be surprised at what players bring. And I think the next 2 months are going to be pretty low on the content side because it's just going to be leading up to rotation, which is a very unfortunate thing to say. However, you know, I have a YouTube channel that prides itself on just unique ideas, so I'm going to keep things interesting as much as possible. But yeah, rotation is going to be the next big thing.
Yeah, the next big thing technically is rotation, but we do have balance patches to look forward to, which... And see, the thing that I'm very looking forward to with balance patches is if the meta is good, there's not going to be things that need to be nerfed. There's going to have to go for things that need to be buffed.
That's always good.
Which is always better because it means that dead cards can get changed to have like really cool effects. For example, we had Atakan who got the really cool effect.
Yeah.
Which is like a change that was like the meta was kind of stale. They only had like a handful of nerfs, and they're like, okay, we need to like populate it with the rest of stuff. They're like, maybe we just make really like high expensive cards do really cool things.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to. If this meta settles and there's only like 3 cards that are like dangerous and need touching, I'm looking forward to the buffs.
This also feels like the champions this time around are going to have a big impact on Eternal. I think that wasn't really the case last time because all of them were kind of like surface level in what they did. It's like, okay, Volibear, big bad dude, ramp. Then you have Neela, it's like, okay, it draws. Good with TF, don't get me wrong. And then Janus, the same thing. It's like, okay, this is very like clear, like in your face value, but Mordekaiser might be able to break it. Morgana gets access to many more like targeted things, and then you have like a whole pool that opens up for Elder Dragon. This is the first Runeterra champion that I love. I've been super down. I tweeted about this. I don't like Runeterra champions in general because they make deck building really boring. For the most part, if you look at Jax, Evelynn, Poro King, there's nothing there. Even Nico, there's nothing there for those champions. But Elder Dragon, Uncle Eddie brings us to spice. And I think with that, we went through everything, unless you have anything to add.
Not really. Just I hope people are going to enjoy Worlds. This is probably like the most hype it's going to be for competitive for this year. Next year we'll see what Worlds and competitive have.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
On the big stage.
True. I mean, well, you need to make day 2. I've yet to see Snnuy make day 2.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. That's the first goal.
Maybe I make it towards next year.
You have broken that barrier. You made it to day 2, so I feel like that's the first big thing. Once you get past that and you're like, oh, I can actually do this. It's like such a big like momentum and motivation boost. I believe in you, Marshall. Bring more Demacia.
LOR report makes it to the World Championships. That would be quite funny.
It would be great advertising too, but you know it's already like kind of the best source for news anyway. So
yeah. I was like, oh, look at this guy, he won. He's really good at the game.
Yeah, exactly. With that being said, though, this is the final episode of I kind of just dubbed it season 1 because we're gonna go like expansion by expansion. So we had kind of season 0 because we started halfway through the Heart of the Hunters expansion. Now we have covered all 3 patches from. No, wait, this is the start. This is the start of Season 2. I just realized. I completely messed it up. This is the start of Season 2 because we started in the end of Heart of the Huntress. Season 1 was expansion for Onward. Then we had Balance and then Variety. So this is the first episode of Season 2. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I think there's going to be a lot of content coming out in the next couple of weeks. And I hope we can keep the game as exciting 4 weeks from now. It's unlikely because this was such a banger expansion. But hey, who knows? Rotation. If there's anywhere to go, it's up. I'm very excited. I love Runeterra right now. It's the best it's ever been. I hope you agree, Marshall, but I think you do.
Yeah, no, I think they've compared to last year where the LOR report was founded because the Riot were doing nothing. Yeah, no, I think they're actually smashing it out of the park this year. I'm very, to the Riot employees that I have communications with. They've taken some feedback that I've given them, and they've honestly smashed it out of the park. I know some of them listen. I know you know who you are. So honestly, you guys have smashed it, and I'm really looking forward to see next year what you're going to do.
Yeah, same here. Honestly, the Runeterra team is so wholesome. You can tell that they put their heart and soul into the game. And, you know, we're card gamers. We like to complain. When a card is broken, we think, you know, the world is scum. Players that play the cards are scum. Developers are scum. But it feels that way, but we know that's not true. We genuinely love the people that are behind this game. We love the community. The community is absolutely insane. I had the 12-hour stream, and the amount of support I got there and the people that came out to show their love for Runeterra, because I like to think that my channel is a celebration of Runeterra. I'm just a dude. I like making good content for a good game. And if I do well, that means Runeterra is doing well, right? I'm just a regular Joe. So with that being said, we'll see you guys in 4 weeks. Enjoy Runeterra. It's amazing. And yeah, just let me know if you've encountered any bugs and what banger decks you're playing. Take care, everybody.
See you later, guys.